And we are live. I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of Heart to Heart with Bree. Tonight, we'll be having a conversation about diabetes, and my guest is Irene Roper. Irene, would you please introduce yourself to the viewers?
I am Irene. I'm gonna say Thompson Roper because most of the people would know me as Thompson. My married name is Roper. I am a Titchfield old girl. I went to Titchfield as a student and I taught there for about 21 years, I believe.
Oh,
I
wow.
left I left Titchfield 2004. I
Okay, well,
came I
I'm
came
sorry,
to the
continue.
States. I came to the States, got retrained, and worked as a medical personnel.
Oh, wow.
So I taught
Special
medical
education.
students at Florida Career College until I left recently.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm so happy to have you as a guest tonight. And to the viewers, I would like you to know this is a two-part episode. Irene will be back week after next. Next week, we'll be having Andrew, who comes the first Sunday of each month. And then the following week, Irene will be back with part two. So, Irene, we're talking about diabetes tonight. So, I will ask you, what is diabetes?
Well, simply put, for the ordinary man, it's too much sugar in the blood. But this is a long term, chronic metabolic disease where we know that the sugar and starch that we eat is broken down into the body, and this is what provides the body with energy. The energy that we use up for daily tasks and work and so on, we get it from the carbohydrates and the sugar, because when the body breaks it breaks it down into simpler form so that it can be absorbed by the cell. And when you are a diabetic, basically you have too much sugar in the blood. And this when this happens, it could be one of several causes, but it affects the other areas of the body, such as your eyes, the kidneys, the blood vessels, the feet, and the nerves.
Okay.
So most people, they'll go blind, or they have parts of their mostly their feet cut off, or they have to get dialysis because the kidney is not functioning properly or not functioning at all.
Oh my goodness, it's just listening to you talk about it. I know of people that have diabetes, but they don't seem to take it seriously. So we'll go deeper into that. So I'd like to ask you next, does your family have a history of diabetes?
Oh my God, I think that's where it comes from. My grandmother died because of complications with diabetes. My mother is severely diabetic. I am, my older sister is, brother is, another sister is. My youngest sister, just recently, maybe 2 years ago, we had to bring her up to the States because of complications with diabetes, and she didn't even know she was diabetic.
Oh my goodness. How
I
did
did.
she find out? How did
I
how
think
did
she fainted or something like that and was taken emergency to the doctor, and that was when she was diagnosed. And basically, I'm telling you, the same thing happened to me. I lived in Jamaica. Well, you know, our Caribbean people, we eat what we feel like, basically. And it's usually a diet of too much carbs and
yes.
a whole lot of sugar in every God Almighty thing that you can find. And I had a complication with the heart, and that was when they told me I was diabetic, and I was seeing doctors on a regular basis. Knew nothing about that because we tend not to know what is going on, and they tell us very little. So I think it's incumbent upon us to, do the research, find somebody who will break it down and explain to you, because more often than not, the doctors don't tell you what is going on. And also, it is also true that this can be a silent disease.
Oh, now
Unless,
I did not know that.
yes, it can be. It can go on for several years, and you know nothing about it.
I
You
hope
have
that
to
the
know
viewers, I'm sorry, go ahead.
you have to know all the signs, every single one. And people can
I'm
go
hoping that the
asymptomatic.
viewers I'm hoping that the viewers will pay attention to what you're saying. I'd like to welcome Maxine. Thank you so much for joining us,
Hi,
Maxine.
Maxine. How are you?
How long ago were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in 1996 or 97. That's
How did
way
it
back.
change your life?
Oh Lord. Basically, I had to try to find out a whole lot from other people through my own research. And luckily, at that time, I had a brother in law who was a medical doctor. And so he set up appointments in Kingston for me to see specialists who took the time to explain what was going on.
Looking back, is there anything that you would do differently?
I think that's a two-part answer, in the sense that how can you do things better if you don't know what is going on, which is the dilemma of most people in Jamaica, I would say, the Caribbean, if we wanted to go there. In the sense that I think the poor economic conditions and the cost of living and all the other thing, long working hours, they just on the fly grab something here, grab something there, and they're not educated. And even if they are, affordability is also an issue. So, you might say the general feeling is that a lot of people don't, especially in the lower echelons, they don't have the know-how or the finances to properly care for themselves.
That is true. I'd like to welcome Sonia, and I'd like to welcome Andrew, and I'd also like to welcome Maxine Cunningham. Thank you so much for joining us. I would
Hi,
like to
everybody. Welcome.
I would like to ask you, what was your lifestyle like? Were you very active? Did you have poor eating habits?
I think I had average eating habit, not poor.
Okay.
Generally speaking, like I said, Caribbean people eat too much carbs.
Yes.
It's the everything. It's not just one carb in the plate, it's four or five.
Yes.
And also a whole lot of red meat, and the oil, and the saturated fat, and all of that. But I think I was pretty active. And
Okay.
well, let's just say we didn't know any better. That was the lifestyle of everybody.
Sonia is saying like key problem is a lack of education, which I will agree. I know for many people they are really ignorant about diabetes. Lilith Fuller said to tell you hello, Irene.
Hello, tell
Thank
her
you for
hello.
joining us. Thank you for joining us, Lilith.
So
You
nice
know,
to have you all.
I think back to growing up as a child. We ate a lot of we drank a lot of like Milo, things like that. And I think of like condensed milk, which is very sweet.
Sugar, the
Yeah,
sugar.
it's
We just
very
ate sugar
sweet.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And
And
the
yeah.
drinks, all the drinks with all that sugar in there. I mean, it was tea and sugar and Milo and everything, and a whole lot of sugar was in everything.
And yeah, I think of like even carrot juice, and I think of all the condensed milk, all the sugar in that. It's looking back, I can see, I developed a sweet tooth from earlier in life, and I still struggle with that. And listening to what you're saying, it's like I'm rethinking a lot of my choices, because I have to admit that I love candy. I mean, chocolate is my downfall. And, I know that I consume way too much sugar.
Well, I think once you know how detrimental to your health, to your life, this is, because I don't take sugar. I don't have nothing that has sugar in it. I take,
Okay.
and the
Now, did
ice
you
cream
struggle
can
with
go.
that?
I don't struggle with it. I don't struggle with it at all, because I get the sweet from the, well, here, you have non-dairy and zero sugar in just about anything you want.
Okay.
And I'm disciplined, although it is bought and it's in the house, because my husband doesn't have diabetes or any
Okay.
other complication, any other disease. My sister is here, my nephew is here. They, whatever they want, they can have. I'm not tempted.
Okay.
um I'm not tempted at all. If I feel like I should have a little bit of ice cream, I can have 2 spoons just to have the taste in my mouth. But I'm not going to sit down. I bake like there's no tomorrow, and I can bake every week, and I have a sliver to just taste it, but I'm not even going to eat a half a slice. I don't eat candies. I
You're
don't.
very disciplined. You're very disciplined, because I'm a pretty good baker, but I don't bake very often, because it's like it would call my name. I make a very good pound cake. I make great chocolate chip cookies, but I don't
I
bake.
do the
But yeah.
Jamaican rum cake.
Oh,
That's my
wow.
specialty, the Jamaican rum cake. And I'll do that whenever somebody wants somebody birthday, whoever, and my family, they live for it. They live
Oh
for
my
it. So
goodness.
whatever is going on, you're baking. They're not even asking me anymore. They're telling me.
I have to ask you, what were the symptoms, if you remember? I know you said you felt faint, but do you recall having any of the symptoms that I hear people talking about?
I am a strange person, because most things I have no symptoms for.
Okay.
No symptom at all. Didn't have a clue.
So you didn't experience the excessive thirst or the
I
constant
never
need to
had
urinate
anything
or
like
that?
that. It was a heart situation. I had angina and was admitted to Port Antonio Hospital. And it was there that they found out I was diabetic.
What would you like to say to the viewers about how it feels to live with diabetes?
Oh my God. I'm gonna do this from two perspectives.
Please do.
The fact that this is a debilitating disease that has long-term implications.
Okay.
See, I have an aunt that went blind, and it is because of diabetes.
Okay.
Blind. I today, Bree, I get injections in the eyes. If anybody tells you that you can get an injection in your eye, believe them. I
Oof.
have been getting injections in both eyes for the past 2 years
Is
on
it
a regular
painful?
basis.
Is it painful?
It is not painful as it is uncomfortable. And after you have gotten it, the eye is the tenderness and the glare of light and all of that affects you like for maybe 2 3 days, but it wears out. It wears off. They have to put something in the eye to keep it open, and the needle goes through that, and you literally see the liquid going in. The medication is called Eylea, and it's manufactured by Regeneron.
Oh my gosh, I you just taught me something I did not know about that.
Y- Believe me, when you say that I'm disciplined, it is not as disciplined as knowing the consequences of my action.
Whew, I'm letting that one sink in because I'm just thinking I wanted to wear contacts and I didn't have the guts to do that. So just the thought of, oh my goodness.
I went to the optician and saw somebody putting in the contacts, and I became traumatized just seeing
Yeah,
what was happening. So I knew there was no way I would even think about it. That I wouldn't even
right.
think about it. But you can get injections in your eyes, literally in the eye itself.
Oh my gosh. You know something, Irene, I have to tell you, those candy bars are not looking that good to me anymore.
Well,
You know?
it's like I tell you, and I think one of the things that saved me, honestly, Brie, is that when I came here, I went to school from with having to do with medical training, and the fact that I had to teach it meant, I was living it as well. So you get to know from a different perspective all the things that can happen, all the complications, all the things that, and remember too that I had a transplant. So
Right, and which we will go into that and
I
we'll be
know we'll go
talking
into
about
that,
that
but
for
like
right for
like I'm
episode
saying to you,
2. But no,
with
I'm
with
I'm sorry,
with
go ahead.
with everything, it took like all, more than 20 years. Because I was diagnosed way back then, and it's 3 years now since I got the transplant.
Gosh, this is really, really, really deep. You know, one of the things that surprised me, I went to Jamaica, I want to say it was about maybe 10 years ago. And one of the things that surprised me was seeing a lot of fast food restaurants, seeing that people were really into fast food. And, you know, I remember growing up, we hardly ever ate out. It was like a special treat to do that. And that was very seldom. And I was just surprised to see how, because I think the rest of the world tries to follow this country. You know, even the countries like that were healthy once upon a time, they've adopted the ways of like, you know, wanting to consume fast food. And they're saying a lot of these countries, for the first time, the older generation is outliving the younger generation because they're now diabetic, high blood pressure, and all these things because of eating habits.
But the fact is, they make it so attractive and so dirt cheap that people gravitate towards that rather than go look after something that is nutritious. If you are thinking of having healthy food, it costs a pretty penny, I can tell you that.
It's true. Maxine said, Irene, the rum cake is calling my name. And, and Anthony Anthony Pennyhead Nelson said to say hello.
Those are my students.
Well, I'm telling you, it's hard. Like I'm thinking about what you're saying, and I know when I come home from work, the last thing I feel like doing is cooking, you know, and it's just easier to grab something that's fast. But at the end of the day, is it really worth it?
If I'm going to have a burger, I am making it myself. I am making it myself, so I know exactly what goes in there, and I know that it will be nutritious. I don't know what they put in whatever they're having out there, but you can go. Sometimes you can go get a burger for $1. Here in the
Yes.
states, you can get, you know, 50 cents, buy one and get another for a penny, and all of that kind of nonsense. And so rather than go buy something that is nutritious, it's ready made, it is right there, and that I think the readily availability of these things are probably forcing people, and the cost too, the whole economic situation. It costs very little, so they can say, okay, it cost me whatever to have a lunch or a meal or a snack or whatever the thing is. And rather than go do, okay, the chips, probably the fries not bad, but why don't you use sweet potato? Why don't you do it in an air fryer so you don't use any oil?
What would you say to the parents who they're in the habit of buying their kids fast food on a regular basis? Kids are having fast food 5 out of 7 days a week. What would you
This
say to
is
those
so
parents?
the long term implications. Our food should be our medicine. If
Yes,
you don't spend the money to eat properly and take care of yourself, then you are going to find it in terms of the health situations.
yes.
We started talking about the different things you have to live with. Brie, I don't think I have any fingerprint in some fingers
Oh,
because it requires testing. You have to test every single day. Maybe the least amount of time would be twice, morning and evening. But you can test probably every meal, and that would be, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe before you go to bed. So that is another thing. If you I take insulin, and so that is injection. My insulin is in pre-filled syringes, and you give it to yourself.
is
You
it
I
painful?
It hurts. It hurts. But what are you gonna do when you think of the alternative? What is it you're gonna do?
Gosh, that's
You take medication right now. Being a transplant patient adds to that. But I take insulin for the diabetes, and I also take by mouth medication tablets. So it's you're using more than one kind of medication to try and control the diabetes. And
what if you don't take your what happens if you don't take your medication or if you're not consistent with it?
if you're not consistent with the medication, what is gonna happen? You can end up in serious trouble. You can get a stroke. You can go in a coma, diabetic coma. You can have long-term consequences in terms of the organs of the body will be affected. Like I said, the eyes, the nerves, the kidneys, the blood vessels, and of course, if blood vessels can lead to heart attack, can lead to stroke. You have to watch what you eat. It's a very, very, another thing, it's a very expensive disease. The medication I'm telling you about, the Eylea, with insurance, one of the injection is $800 out of pocket,
Oh my
and very soon
goodness.
it's gonna go to 1,000.
Oh my goodness.
One pack containing five insulin is 40, is prior to now, it was like 100 with insurance. The government has stepped in and control it to 35. So I take two different kinds. That is going to be $70.
Oh my goodness.
So
That's
so
something to
so
think about.
it is very, very, very expensive. Not only that, you have to be constantly doing blood work to check. That's another thing. Like you can do blood work. You should do blood work the red blood cells live for 140 days. So if you want to know the hemoglobin A1C, so after they die, then a new set is reproduced, and so on and so forth. So if you want to know how the blood was operating in the body over that period, every 3 months or so, you would have to get a blood test. And the hemoglobin A1C gives you the glucose level in the body. So if it should be, for a diabetic, your aim is to keep it under 7. If you're 7, you are okay. Mine is 6.
Okay. Okay.
So I do everything in my power to ensure. One of the reasons that the kidney disease was so far away from diagnosis was that I make a consolidated effort to control the things I can control. So
Yes.
I take my medication, I exercise, I go to the gym, I walk, I eat properly, I prepare my own food. So these are things that you can do.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
for the person who has no insurance, or and I can tell you something. Although we would try to do all of that, sometimes the health personnels are not helping. They pump you with the medication, increase the dose, increase the dose, increase the dose. Whether we believe it, yes or no, they're investing in these medications. And so they have an iron in the fire. So they
Yeah.
will give you more, because the more they give is the more profit they're getting, because of whatever is going on. Not to mention the big pharmacy bribe them or give them kickbacks, so to speak,
Yes.
to dispense the medication.
How long did it take from your diabetes diagnosis to your being on dialysis?
A very long time.
Okay.
It
Okay.
took a very long time, because once I found out what that I had the diabetes, I did everything in my power to control. And seeing my grandmother died from diabetes, my aunt died from diabetes, my mom is diabetic, my sister is diabetic. I have a brother in Jamaica that died from complications with diabetes.
My goodness. Please explain to the viewers what is dialysis. Please let us know.
Okay, dialysis is up the process by which the kidney is no longer able to remove toxins and waste and so forth from the blood. The kidneys are the filtering process in the body that removes all the everything that is there. When the kidneys are damaged, they no longer can perform that function. And so you have two kinds of dialysis. The process of removing the molecules and the toxins and the waste and the excess water from the body is dialysis. And you have the mechanical dialysis, that's the hemodialysis. Hemo is the means blood.
Okay.
Hemodialysis is where all of the blood goes out of the body into a machine that filters it and puts it back into the body. And then there's another one, and I did both. There's another one that is peritoneal dialysis. That's the at-home dialysis, where you are trained, you are given a machine, fluid is pumped into the body in the peritoneal cavity. That's the cavity between the skin and the internal organs. The body has a cavity, internal and external. Between the skin and the organs, there is cavity called the peritoneal cavity, and fluid is pumped into that section of the body, and it stays for a while, and through the process of osmosis, an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration, the blood is filtered. So it's pumped into the body. You wear what is called a port. I had it in my abdomen. So the surgeons have to go in and implant a device inside of you, and you wear it, and you tubes to that. You set up the machine, you get a machine and you set it up, and you put exorbitant amount of the fluid inside of you, allow it to stay for a while. So it goes in, and that process is called dwelling, where that is how the filter happens, and then it is expelled from the body.
How long does the process take usually?
I used to do mine, well, it can take hours. I used to do mine at nights. And you could sleep and have it done. I found that it was very uncomfortable for me. So much water going inside of you. And I had to even buy a special chair, because when I lay down, I felt as if I was drowning. All of that fluid inside of you. And so I bought a chair that I could relax in, sleep in. A special, it was similar to, it is, if anybody does dialysis, it's similar to the dialysis chair.
What happens if you miss a dialysis appointment?
You The dialysis is usually done 3 times a week for about 4 hours. And I think you can miss one, but if you miss more than one, you're in trouble.
Okay, I know that some people in Jamaica are really
Well,
struggling.
when I was doing that, I didn't go to Jamaica at all,
Okay.
because I wasn't sure. And whenever I was traveling within the states, we have a brother in Orlando, and if I was going there for more than 2 days, 3 days, then we would have. I remember one Christmas we went up there for the Christmas, and they arranged for me to do the dialysis there. So all over the United States, wherever you go, even sometimes on a cruise, you can have your dialysis.
Wow. I know because Donald has shared with us about, how difficult it is for people in Jamaica.
And the cost involved.
Yes. Yes, because he said they have to travel to Kingston
I
and
think
it
there is one in Kingston. Somebody
Mhm.
was telling me that there is another in Montego Bay.
Okay.
Um, I had inquired when I was on dialysis, and somebody was, well, it's a friend, and she said, don't worry about it. If you want to, whatever, I can set it up for you. But I didn't go.
Okay.
And
I
not all hospital, nowhere in Portland, St. Mary, St. Thomas, St. Anne, there's any.
which is a shame. I mean, that really is a shame.
And then when you think of the cost, how many people can afford to do something like that?
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's really sad when you think about
You
it.
you know you know you know you had asked me earlier, like what are some of the implications if you don't have proper insurance, Bree, to do dialysis even here in the States. Dog, eat your supper.
Wow.
You're talking if it's a lifestyle disease, diabetes, and all the complications. But if when we to go through dialysis and transplant, it is no longer quoted in thousands; it's in the millions.
Oh my goodness. well, I'm about to ask, well, it sounds like it would put a lot of limitations on your life. If you have to go through dialysis, does it affect your work life, your home life?
It does. It does. Um, I once I started dialysis, I couldn't work anymore because you did it 3 times for the week and 4 hours, so you couldn't go to work for 4 hours. And if you're doing this 3 times for the week, then nobody's going to take that on, you know. And especially in my field of work, there was no way I could do a part of a class and somebody come and do another part.
Okay.
That just wouldn't make any sense. So I had to stop working. I was forced to stop working.
I'd like to address amputations. A gentleman that I was working with recently, he had to stop working. He had to have an amputation done. What is it that, what being
Causes it.
diabetic, that leads to the point of having an amputation?
Okay, what causes amputation mainly is neuropathy.
Okay.
Neuropathy is the nerves. What the diabetes affect the nerves. Okay? And so there is no feeling. So most times people get cuts and all kinds of things, and they don't know unless they're taking very, very, because there's no feeling there.
So
And
that explains why a lot of people, they end up with these wounds that they have to
they end up
constantly
with
have
the
the dressing
wounds
changed.
because it's there and they don't know, because there's no feeling. So it could be like maybe between your toes, somewhere there. Another thing is that if you ever notice that you have a cut or any wound and it's not getting better quickly, it's not healing properly, then check out if you're diabetic, because the excess sugar in the blood prevents that from happening. So that again is debilitating.
Oh, now, the people that have these wounds, like how often do they have to have their dressings changed?
I think probably every day, if not every other day. Every other day, if not every day. I don't know. I've never had a wound.
Okay.
So I really, I can't talk much about that, but I would think if you have a wound, you would have to, depending on what state it's in, then it has to be cleaned and dressed, and special wound care facilities.
Yes.
It's not just business as usual.
No, I have a CNA certification, and I remember once, I was working in a clinic setting, and a gentleman came in and he needed to have his dressing changed. And I will never forget, and I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but the stench of it. It was pretty bad. So I was curious then, like,
When was the last time it was changed, or how
right,
serious is the wound?
right. So I wondered, is it, if a person is diabetic and they don't have anyone to help them? I mean,
Most
are they
times
able
that's
to?
the case, you are debilitated in the sense that sometimes you can't bend, you're not as flexible, you have no feeling, so you don't know it's there, and it could be depending on who you are and how you take care of yourself. If you're not able to shower and examine your feet, one of the things you must have when you are a diabetic, you must have a podiatrist. You must have an ophthalmologist. You must have a cardiologist. You must have an endocrinologist. You must have a podiatrist. And maybe you need a neurologist as well, because those are the vital areas that are affected.
Now, early in the diabetic journey, is there anything that the diabetic can do that could probably reverse it or keep it in check? I know you said it took you a long time to get to the point of dialysis, but is there any way that a person can decide, you know what, I'm changing my life, I'll eat healthier, I'll do this? Is that possible?
I want to say, if it is found out very early and you take really stringent steps, like, cut out the carbs maybe, or very little, and do, other things, then you probably, a lot of people, what they do though is they self medicate.
Okay.
I have a niece that self medicate, and recently she got a stroke.
Oh, wow. You know, years ago, I watched a documentary called Raw. It's on YouTube. And it's about this movement where they're teaching people to go raw, like eat all, raw food. And they showed that there was a difference in their numbers, but they couldn't eat meat. They couldn't eat, there was a lot of things that they cut out. And those who stuck with the program actually did a lot better. There was one guy that they had to keep him on insulin. His dosage was lower, but he still had to take it. And I remember one gentleman, he couldn't take it. The thought of not eating meat, the thought of not eating the foods he was accustomed to eating. And he said he would rather just be sick because he couldn't, give up the foods that he loved.
But that it that is preference.
Yeah.
If you know, like, why would I go and do something that is going to cause me harm?
It's,
So you're
food, but you know, it shows that food is addictive in my opinion. The fact
It is, and there are lots of people who will tell you, I can't this and I can't that. Well, if you're longing to go home to glory, go right ahead. Because
yeah,
the reality, of course you feel like you would want to.
of course, of course,
Of
of course,
course.
of
Ice
course.
cream is in there, and every time I open it and see the ice cream, the devil will tell you have some.
Yeah, but it's not worth it.
But then you would
Anthony,
have to go measure, you don't take more than 2 spoons. And nobody's saying you can't have some. Taste it.
I guess like for me, I'm not ice cream is not my weakness, but for the things I really like, I don't know if I have the ability to have like I hear some people say they could just have just a couple squares of the chocolate. I just would not be able to do that. It's better for me not to
I
eat
can
it at
take
all.
a small piece of chocolate.
I,
I
I I
can.
wouldn't be able to do. Anthony's asking, can you explain what it means to self-medicate?
Self medicate means, okay, she reads something on the internet, and somebody, some people somewhere says, do the juicing, like, for example, pe-
Yes.
or so she does a whole lot of juicing, and she figures that that's gonna help her diabetes, and she's a vegan.
Okay.
She's vegan, but then they found out that she's not getting enough protein.
Okay. Wow. In this day and age, there's so much information out there, but there's a lot of misinformation. And I guess we do have to
Well,
be careful.
there are people who figure that every God Almighty thing you see on the internet is fact.
And that's not
And
the case.
that's not the case. You have to know, and the thing is, there's a factual information.
Yes.
If you're testing and you're seeing something, then obvious, and I'm saying knowledge is power. There is something that is called diabetes insipidus. There is something that is called diabetes mellitus. There is type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, juvenile diabetes, gestational diabetes. So unless, and sometimes, like I'm saying, and I'm telling you, I'm in the field. You go to these doctors and they just quickly, quickly, quickly in 5 minutes, and okay, okay, this, that, and here, take more medication. I see that the sugar is still high. I'm going to increase the dose. They're not discussing what are the major side effects of that. Is there something else that I can do? What is this, or what? Like I remember when I just started the injection in the eyes, the nurse came in and she's very busy. I did all the tests and everything, and she said, "Oh, the doctor is giving you an." I said, "No, he's not. He needs to come in here and tell me why and explain all the side effects. He did not tell me that, and you're not going to give it to me." And I'm saying, how many people know this? How many people know this?
It's true. I mean, I am learning a lot from you tonight. The viewers are commenting about what they're learning from you. I mean, you are. I'm pretty sure you'll be saving some people tonight with this information. Like I said, the injection in the eyes. I would have never even imagined that was even possible.
Oh, Brie, I get injections in the eyes, and I'm 2 years in.
I won't lie to you, Irene. I have a bag of Dove chocolate on my bed. And it's like when this podcast is over, it's going in the trash. I'm serious. It's going in the trash because it's not worth it. I
It's
mean,
not worth. I can tell you that it's not worth it. I've
it's
been to
not.
hell and back.
It's
Oh,
and it's food is addictive, but I can tell you that for me, like when I'm eating chocolate, it's like a comfort. It's just, and it's become a habit. It's like, how can I describe it? It's just, I'm watching television or I may be reading or whatever it is I'm doing. It's just so easy to pick that chocolate up and eat
Brie,
it.
my
Yeah.
husband buys snacks like it's grocery. And he'll sit beside me and said, "Here's a little piece." And you know the worst thing? Nothing in the world is wrong with him. That's the sad part.
You know what? I mean, your food is your medicine, and you're giving me so much to think about. I have to
But
ask you
you
this.
can have other things, the nuts and the fruits, and if you need to have something, the fruits, just in moderation, because they're sweet as well.
Yes.
So you can have, for snack, I have my fruits.
Yeah, and I don't mind fruit, but it's I won't lie
But
to
there's
you.
so many of them. There's so many.
Um,
And
Maxine is
berries
telling
are
me,
very good for diabetics.
Maxine is saying you don't have to throw it away, just eat it in moderation.
You
I'm,
don't have to, I wouldn't recommend it, but put it in the fridge. Put it in the
something.
fridge.
There was a time where I can tell you I went cold turkey. I stopped eating all of that. And I mean for a long time, I'd even stopped eating bread at one point, stopped eating cereal. I dropped down to a size 2 because I cut out all those things. But it's like once I eat something like that again and it puts that taste back in my mouth, then that struggle starts again. But if I make up my mind to do it, I will do it and know that it's just not the best
If
thing for
I,
me to
I
even
think
taste
if
it.
you, if seriously, if you know the things that can happen,
Yes.
if you have experienced it and you see it in other people around you. My grandmother died from diabetic
Mm.
complication. My brother died at 50 something. My mother is still alive, but she's severely diabetic. My sister is older sister is diabetic. My brother after me is diabetic. My youngest sister is here right now, and she nearly died down there because nobody knew she was diabetic. And she's seeing doctors.
There are so many comments. Irene, I want you to look back on this and, respond to the viewers. And I would like to say to everyone, I really appreciate all the comments. Sophia, thank you so much for joining us. Juliet, thank you so much for joining us. I have to ask you this. Please tell us about when you were told that you needed a transplant.
Mm. That was one of the worst days of my life. And half of it is carelessness. I was seeing a nephrologist. I had a nephrologist who was treating me for over 2 years. Because being a diabetic, like I said, you have to see the specialist so that you're keeping abreast of what is happening. And somehow the insurance changed. The corporate America, once every now and then the company change insurance. And once the insurance is changed, you get a different set of doctors, your primary care people, whatever. And so my insurance changed, and I had a new nephrologist. And he said, he requested my medical records, and the doctor sent 2 pages. The previous doctor sent 2 pages. So I'm right there and I don't know. He doesn't know I'm medical. So like he's saying, what the hell is going on here? This must be a joke. Why are you not on so and so medication, and why are you whatever? And like, you could see frustration, and he's talking out aloud, not realizing that I understood everything he's saying. And Bree, this is America. The doctor would not take a card nor a check. You had to pay in cash. And I should have known something was up with that. And he would order the test, but he wouldn't be discussing them with me. I would have to be saying, what is this and what is that? How is this going? Whatever. He gave me a medication and my ankle started swelling up. And I called and said, my ankle is swelling up. He said, stop taking it. And it's going to take 6 weeks for it to. So you're taking a medication and it takes 6 weeks for that medication to get out of your system if you stop. If you put your finger in my foot, it would sink. So I realized that something was off. So I was not being taken care of medically properly. And so at that time I found out that I had like a 20% kidney function. So quickly they started the education campaign. This is what is. I cried when I heard that, literal tears. And like I called Michael. Michael is my brother-in-law, and I'm telling Michael what is happening, and he is, advising me and whatever. He was still alive then. So my husband said, well, we're just gonna have to deal with it, whatever it is. We're dealing with it. So they started a campaign, and they tell you what is going to happen and how this is. It's not right at this minute, but we're moving towards that, whatever. And so the process started. I was given the information. My husband went to all of the appointments with me. There was training, a whole lot of training involved in it. I chose the peritoneal, and that was the biggest mistake of my life. I'll tell you more about that when we get to the second segment. But this was it. There were so many almost roadblocks, but I persisted. We started. The minute I started, I got training, and I did surgery. Bree, I should tell you about that. I did about 8 or so surgeries in the between one and between dialysis and transplant.
Sophia is asking, how do you feel after dialysis?
You feel like a train has run over you, literally.
I've heard Donald Thompson say the same thing.
You all picture this. Every drop of blood within the body is taken out. Oh, to begin with, Bree, I don't know if you can see this.
Yes.
Okay, they had to put a port was put in my neck, one was put in my chest, and then to act as the tube to put the veins are so tiny that to put those big needles inside of you to get the whatever, it would blow the vein out. So they had to put an artificial one here. This is where this big thing comes out. And every 6 months they have to go back in and clean it out. And this is major surgery because they have to connect the artificial thing to both a vein and an artery. And it is here that they put the so I had one in my abdomen for the peritoneal, but the dialysis itself I had it in the arm. And you can become traumatized just overnight. The size of the needles alone is something to be feared. It you are immobile and strung up to this machine, and things can happen where blood is everywhere and all over you, all on you, all on the ground, and all of that. That has happened. Um, I've seen people code. I coded. Um, you, some people can come. You have to eat certain things, and certain things you can't. You are constantly nauseous. You are weak. You are sleepy. You are in pain. Basically, it's like I said, the blood is taken. You literally see the blood go coming out of your body, spinning in the machine and going back. You're seeing that literally. And when you're finished, you literally fall asleep. There were times when I couldn't drive myself to the center.
Oh my
And it's
goodness.
near, very near to me, not even 3 miles.
Yeah,
But I couldn't manage to drive. So
it
somebody had to
sounds
take
draining.
me there and pick me up and take me back home.
It sounds painful. It sounds so draining.
It's
I'd like to
I don't know
welcome
how people from Port Antonio go to dialysis and reach back Portland.
I- I'd like to welcome Claudia. Thank you for joining us tonight. And Claudia saying, this is my discipline. I worked 23 years in this field. Claudia, I would love for you to be a guest. I really would, to hear things from your perspective. You know, I have to say to you, Irene, you have done a brilliant job educating us tonight on this. And you have me rethinking a lot of things. Like, even at my fittest, when I was working out consistently, my nutrition wasn't always the best. And you have me rethinking a lot of things. And I would like to say to the viewers that Irene will be back week after next. Next week, Andrew will be back on. As you know, he comes on the first and fifth Sunday of every month. But Irene will be coming back week after next to share about her transplant journey. And I have to tell you, Irene, I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you have done for us tonight, because you have opened my eyes. I'm serious. This is something to take seriously. You know, Andrew is saying respect and prayers. This is something to the viewers. You know, this is a wake up call for all of us. I think it's a serious wake up call for all of us. And, you know, good health is not anything to take for granted. And I'm hoping that, you know, you will share this video. I think this video really needs to be shared. And I'd like to ask you, Irene, you know, to please share your closing thoughts for tonight.
It was a pleasure being here, Bree. Um, Anything I can do, you know, to help our listeners or viewers, I will. This has been an eye-opening journey for me. It has been, and I am no superhero, but you know, when you're faced with the reality I have faced and see the things I have seen, then you're scared literally into doing what is right. It is not, I'm not doing it because I think I am a superhero at all. Another thing is that I have a family that is very, very supportive, and my husband is a blessing. He is, he is. And so I was forced to even stop working, like I said. So years now I don't work. There's no way I could do dialysis and work.
Well, I tell you, the viewers are thanking you for your transparency, for being so open and honest, being so authentic in what you're sharing. And I am just really looking forward to part two.
The part two is going to be a bummer, I tell you, because Brie, with the dialysis, one of the dialysis I coded for 5 days, I was out, and
Please
nobody.
explain, please explain to the viewers what it means to code.
To code mean you're clinically dead. You're breathing on a machine. You're on a machine.
This is very serious. This is not, you know,
So when I
something to take
tell you
lightly.
that I do what I have to do, this I am a miracle. I am a miracle. I coded and I was out for 5 days. My family in Jamaica was in the hospital room when I woke up because nobody knew if I was going to wake.
Gosh, this is this is serious business, and I
This
tell
is this
you,
is no joke. This is no joke.
I would like to thank the viewers that joined us tonight. Please join us when Irene comes back for part two. I'll say it again. Please share this video.
I
And
will. I sent the link to a couple people. My
well, I tell
family
you,
has it, and
this,
very good friends in Jamaica and here as well. I sent it to them earlier on, so they're watching, and it will be there for them to even look at later on.
I
It
would
was a
like to.
pleasure being here and
Oh,
really
Irene,
an honor.
this has been my pleasure, and I just appreciate how you tune in every week to watch my podcast. It means a great deal to me. And what I would like to say to the viewers too is like, because most of us we have this Portland connection, this Port Antonio connection. What is it that we can do to have a facility in Portland or somewhere that's closer than Kingston? I mean, what will it take for something like this to happen? Because there are so many people who have done so well in life. I mean, what can we do
They
to
tried
make a
that. I
difference?
think Donald and a whole group of people tried that years ago and nothing came of it.
That is so unfortunate. It really is, because you live here in the United States, you know, and you've had access to care. But for those in Jamaica. I mean,
Brie,
I
if
am
I lived in
concerned.
Jamaica, I'd be dead. And it's not that I want to downplay anything about
No, I
Jamaica.
get it.
I'm not doing that. But I was during my period of dialysis. I couldn't go home. I couldn't go home because if anything happened to me, I don't know what to do there.
Yeah. You did the right thing. I'm hoping someone can answer that for me because it's very unfortunate for people in Portland. It really is. I can't even find
Was
the
the
words
same
because
thing
it's
happened to
upsetting.
Patrick Lee? He had to get dialysis and had to go into Kingston or wherever he went two or three times a week.
My goodness. It's unfortunate, but I tell you, I like I said, we had a lot of comments tonight. You really and truly made an impact sharing your story, and we are definitely looking forward to part two. I'd like to wish everyone a blessed week. Irene, once again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you
Not
for
a
all that
problem
you
at
shared
all. You know,
tonight.
anytime you can call on me, Bree. I'm always there with you every Sunday night. You know that.
Well, you will definitely be hearing from me because we definitely want to hear more about your journey. And once again, thank you so much. And good night to everyone.
Bye bye.